I would also point to Keir Starmer actually intervening by making sure that the England-Mexico game did not get moved. Now, I would look at that as a far more egregious situation when you think of the fact that the reason for potentially moving the game earlier was because there were 3 Mexicans that lost their lives after the round of 32 because it was so late and you had over 1 million Mexicans coming in. So the reason why there were discussions was for life and safety. I think that's really where the discussion should be, less about kind of a play on.
So this has been one of the most exciting World Cups for a while, particularly if, like me, you're a nocturnal animal. And there are just 10 days until the final in New York. But it has not been without its controversies, inevitably. Most prominently, the intervention by President Trump that saw FIFA set aside the red card given to USA striker Florian Balogun. But it has been seen as a brilliantly hosted competition nonetheless, and it's certainly caught the imagination of billions around the world. And so to discuss this, I am joined by Andrew Giuliani, who is the Executive Director of the White House Task Force on the FIFA World Cup. Good afternoon, Andrew. It's morning there. Thank you very much for joining us.
Of course, my pleasure. Great to be with you here from Boston, where the Scots, I think they've finally found some more booze since the Scots have left here, because I think they added a couple $2 billion to New England's GDP in their own right.
Yeah, I saw there were sort of pubs that were completely drunk dry by our fine Scottish brethren. It was quite a show, that. If only they'd been able to get through to the semis. Look, Andrew, what's your standout moment been in this World Cup? What have the highlights been for you?
Man, I'll tell you, it's a really tough one. I think it's seeing the world's love affair with the United States of America. You know, as I've talked to President Trump about this World Cup, especially over our 250th birthday, what we talked about was showing off American exceptionalism, showing off that welcoming hospitality that exists in the United States of America. I think sometimes people try to conflate the president's stance on illegal immigration and making sure that he protects the homeland from bad actors coming in to the welcoming nature of the United States. And I think this World Cup has been a perfect example in the work that's been done, not just by the White House Task Force, but by the State Department, by the Department of Homeland Security, to make sure that 5 million people in the first half of this fiscal year from the 19 ESTA countries got their ESTAs processed, to make sure Argentina's B1, B2 wait times were down from 300 days a couple years ago down to less than a week. For Brazil, down from 700 days down to less than 2 weeks. I think seeing that love affair from the world to the United States, that's really been the top highlight.
Well, anyone who can get a handle on the US visa system has my undying admiration. But look, there has been some criticism aimed at you and aimed at the president over this decision to overturn the red card given to Florian Balogun. Obviously, the US went out eventually anyway. But you saw that red card as an injustice, did you?
Well, I looked at a couple of different facts of it there, first and foremost. And I want to be clear, right? It's U.S. Soccer that ultimately filed the appeal over here. But the two facts that I think you have to look at is the Brazilian referee, was akin to a match-fixing investigation back in 2023, where they were giving out, I quote, irregular red cards. Then you add that to the fact of the contact foul in the 64th minute of the United States versus Bosnia match. The VAR never, ever should have been used in that manner for a contact foul. So when you merge those two facts in there, you have to be suspicious. And I just want to point out a couple other things there. The U.S. government, when they see fair play on the playing field that may or may be in question, we will take a look at it. I mean, go look at one of the pitchers, a couple of the pitchers in Major League Baseball just last year who was throwing intentional balls. So then that way they could profit off of the prediction markets. You can look at NBA referees in previous years. We've intervened college athletes, maybe going and throwing games. Like, this is not something that's not precedent setting. I would also point to Keir Starmer actually intervening by making sure that the England-Mexico game did not get moved. Now, I would look at that as a far more egregious situation when you think of the fact that the reason for potentially moving the game earlier was because there were 3 Mexicans that lost their lives after the round of 32 because it was so late and you had over 1 million Mexicans coming in. So the reason why there were discussions was for life and safety. I think that's really where the discussion should be, less about kind of a play on the field.
Interesting. So you thought Starmer's intervention over the kickoff time was more significant, more egregious, as you put it, than Trump intervening over the red card?
Well, one is life and safety, and the other one is play on the pitch. I mean,
interesting.
Look, I think you can see a very clear difference on that. And look, here's the truth about President Trump, right? President Trump wants fair play. Fair play at the ballot box, fair play on the field. I think they got the ultimate call right. And look, hats off to Belgium, right? What the president said was, if Belgium ends up winning and they're the better team, then you tip your cap. We had our best players on the field. They had their best players on the field, and they were the better team on Monday. It wasn't even close. I will say one thing about this American team. I respect their character. They did not have their best day on the pitch. We all know that. But what did they do at the end of that match? They thanked the American fans, and they all got in the middle of the pitch, and they prayed together. I think that tells you something about the character of this team.
So it's interesting that we've seen a bit of a love-in between President Trump and the FIFA boss, Gianni Infantino. They seem to get on quite well, and they got quite close in the run-up to the tournament. Are they sort of on the same wavelength? How would you describe that relationship?
Well, I think this goes back to before even the U.S. won the bid in 2018, right? They developed a relationship then. I was a younger staffer at that point, kind of seeing behind the scenes here of that. And I remember when President Trump landed the bid in 2018, I remember being in the Oval Office that night and talking through it. And there was this feeling of this is going to be amazing for the United States of America. I'll be a former president at that point, but it's kind of amazing, obviously, everything that then happened in 2020, that incredible comeback of President Trump in 2024. I know the president and Johnny stayed close throughout those 4 years where, you had the Democratic establishment attacking President Trump, and then President Trump wins in 2024, and now he gets the opportunity to really execute on that incredible vision. And we're seeing that execution flourish.
They're both deal makers, Andrew. I mean, do you think that's where they get on? They're pragmatists, maybe, is it?
Well, I'll tell you what, and this is one of the things, and I think probably our friends in the British Isles understand this probably even better than Americans understand this. There might be more politics in soccer than there is in even Washington, D.C. And so I think there's a mutual respect for being able to navigate that, right? There are 211 FIFA member associations in there. That is, as FIFA tells us, more than the United Nations. When you end up looking at one of the matches here just a couple of days ago, the Argentina-Cape Verde match per FIFA had over 2.7 billion people watching this. I think there is a mutual respect there, and it's been fun to see behind the scenes how they've been able to cultivate that friendship.
Yeah. I did my best to stay up for that game, but it was about 2 a.m. here. But Andrew, there is a concern about the precedent of politicians intervening in football. You're right, politics and football have always been intertwined, but I mean, do you think that with Trump got involved over the Balogun red card? Do you think other world leaders should get involved if they're concerned what's happening with their team? There's Article 27 of the FIFA Code does offer this potential for a corrective. Do you think we're going to see more of that?
I would send that question to Keir Starmer right now.
Well, I suppose he's at the NATO summit, but.
Well, when he comes back, he should be coming back.
Well, look, maybe they're discussing the football there.
A quicker flight from Turkey back to
whether it's Starmer, whether it's Trump. I mean, do you think that? Do you worry at all about this precedent of politics and football becoming even more intertwined than they already are?
I was worried about a referee who was involved in a match-fixing scandal investigation, and who was involved in a match-fixing scandal investigation back a few years ago, who then improperly applied a red card. So that's what I was concerned about. I think the president was as well when you end up adding that together. As I said before, the president wants to achieve fair play. That's only fair. Look, we've put billions of federal dollars on the line to be able to do this. We want to make sure that everything is safe off the pitch. We want to make sure that all of the players, the teams, the fan bases, American citizens are safe. We also want to make sure that there are no scandals on our shore.
So fair play, I agree with you, is critical. There is a concern, and maybe it's a little bit of a conspiracy at times, but that some teams are favoured over others in this tournament. There was a feeling during the Egypt-Argentina match that Argentina was somehow favoured. I mean, are you the Egyptian FA are furious about that game. I mean, are you concerned that FIFA is putting its thumb on the scales at all for certain teams?
Look, I mean, I know ultimately any time that you get a major event like this, a World Cup, passions and get involved right there. Obviously, there are going to be close calls. We can go back to, incredible. I think back as a baseball fan, many people probably around the world know Jackie Robinson, right? The first African American to go and break the color barrier in Major League Baseball back in 1947. My father's hero was Yogi Berra, a great catcher for the New York Yankees. And there's this amazing, incredibly controversial pet play where Jackie Robinson in the World Series steals home and Yogi ends up putting the tag on him. And depending on the angle you look, is it safe? Is he out? Is he safe? Is he out? And Yogi went to his grave saying, I got him out, even though he was called safe. So look, there's always close plays in sports. Certainly understand that. And that's kind of, I think, one of the parts of the imagination with sports, right? There is human error that is involved. We just want to make sure that it is actually not with intent.
And your father, of course, the famous lawyer and mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani. Donald Trump, when he was talking about the Balogun red card, seemed to have become a kind of overnight soccer enthusiast. I mean, have you watched games with him? Has he developed an interest in the game seemingly during the tournament?
Well, he has a great knowledge of sports in general. I would look at all the different things that he's done as president, from going to the Knicks NBA championship game to the Super Bowl to Daytona 500 to obviously hosting the draw. He's been a sports nut ever since I've known him, going to the Ryder Cup here, where the Europeans got the best of the Americans here in a wild Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black. I think there's one thing, though, that probably people don't give the president credit for, right? The president is an incredible father when you look at his 5 kids and how they've been raised. And we in life are always trying to make either our parents or our kids proud, or some combination of that. And so the fact that his youngest son is such a big soccer enthusiast, I think there is that beautiful father-son relationship there when he's talking about soccer, when he's talking about the World Cup. You see that little glint in his eye right there, that little extra smile there that, you can tell, well, I'm making my son proud.
So who's going to be delivering the trophy then? Is it Mr. Infantino or Mr. Trump in New York in a couple of weeks?
Hey, you know what? I've known President Trump for 30 years. He's been a very close friend and a mentor to me. And the one thing that I've known over these 30 years is expect the unexpected. So get your popcorn ready, stay tuned in, and we'll see.
And that sounds like we're going to see Donald Trump give the trophy. But who are you backing, Andrew, to win? Who's your now the USA are out? Who's your second team? Is it the mighty England?
My team is out right there. I'm looking for just incredible matches here all the way. I think it's going to be amazing. Like I said, we're in Boston for this France-Morocco match. I think that England win in Mexico City was one of the most incredible games of the tournament. I think it's going to be an incredible final 8 matches here coming up, and we're looking forward to crowning whoever the champion is.
There you go. So, reading between the lines there, it sounds like Andrew Giuliani is indeed backing England's 3 Lions for victory. Thank you very much, Andrew.
You said that, not me. But what I'll tell you is, this has been an incredible World Cup. What an awesome opportunity it has been for the United States of America to show off American exceptionalism and share our 250th birthday with the world.
Well, look, it is indeed coming home. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. That is Andrew Giuliani, Executive Director of the White House Task Force on the World Cup.